Guys, and welcome to another video. In this one, I'm going to share all about the things I am doing to level up my Thai skills, particularly in speaking. Not much has changed, but I feel like I'm always doing new things or adding different methods to help me improve faster while always working to adjust my processes according to my progress. I asked my tutor to rate my speaking level and comprehension level after one of our classes together, and she rated my comprehension at C1 and rated my speaking at B2. She told me I didn't have a hard time understanding her at all, but on speaking, if I could integrate more particles while I spoke, it would help me sound more Thai. I agreed completely. Since the past month, I have really been working hard to change my Thai from sounding super robotic to more natural Thai, and that is not easy for some reason. That is going to be the focus of this video. It was this feedback that sent me on the journey to level up my Thai from sounding robotic to more natural, and although I'm still a work in progress, I can confidently say that I have encountered some strategies that is really helping me to switch from the textbook way of speaking to sounding a little more natural. So let's get into some tips and strategies to up-level your Thai. These tips will benefit you more if you are already very comfortable in Thai, aka not an absolute beginner. I feel like if you have engaged with Thai for a long time through practice, these tips might really help you. Let's get into it. In this video, I'm going to focus extensively on listening because the truth is, this is the easiest to experience or gain access to. So first, what kind of content should you listen to or consume? Now, this is up to the learner and what you find more comfortable for your level. I hear a lot of advice from people saying watching kids' shows help them to improve their listening comprehension or help them learn. For me, it doesn't. I prefer watching YouTube videos on topics I love. I love watching interviews and I love watching movies. So I will focus on these. For the past couple of months, I've really been into Wawanarat and Anand Wong's channels, and I literally watch them every day. I used to just watch and enjoy the content and would note down any words that caught my attention or thought that I might use them in my speech and then put it in Quizlet to learn. I have always been that learner that would write down several words and memorize them later, but that is not really helpful if you want to sound Thai. Let me tell you what the problem with this method is. Learning only what you hear out of context means that you are leaving the hard work to yourself when learning the entire phrase would be so much easier than later trying damn hard to string something together. For instance, let's say you heard or noticed the word chai ryang in this context. Man chai ryang mai nia, ti song nia. And then you noted down chai ryang by itself and then moved on. The next time you're going to say something like, you had to meet up with a friend and rushed up thinking you were going to be late, but when you got there, they hadn't arrived yet and you realized you had got the time wrong in your rush. So you are telling this story to someone and you want to express that all your efforts ended up not being worth it. And you say,ความพยายามทั้งหมดนั้นไม่มีค่าเลยในไทยที่สุด. It is not incorrect, but if you had learned the entire context where you heard the phrase ชายเรือง then you could have said ทำเยอะๆขนาดนั้นมันใช่เรื่องไหมเนี่ย? This, to me, sounds more like something a Thai person would say than my robotic textbook format. Therefore, step number 1 is to learn the entire phrase containing the new words you noticed. Step number 2. Restructure the phrase and make it your own by taking out main words and inserting different ones to see how they sound. So, I was listening to the song Len Kong, or the English title Red Curse by Diamond Narakon when it came out. And that's why I heard the phrase Non Yang Gai Go Mela, and I liked it so much. I would have never said it like that, to be honest. ไม่ว่าฉันจะพยายามมาแค่ไหนฉันก็ไม่สามารถนอนหลับได้ I know. Too many words and quite descriptive. It is not wrong, but non yang gai go mei lap was closer to what I had meant to describe whenever I said ไม่ว่าฉันจะพยายามมาแค่ไหนฉันก็ไม่สามารถนอนหลับได้ That sounds better in my opinion. I hope you get the point I'm trying to make with this. Learning a new language as an adult means we start with books. At least, that is what I did. A textbook and an app so I can hear how words sound. The textbook way isn't wrong. It is just not how people naturally speak in their everyday conversations. One thing you will notice as you progress and consume a ton of spoken Thai is how natives like to shorten stuff any chance they get. They would always use few words to get their points across, and I think that is key to sounding Thai. The transition though is a bit tough. At this point, you've already trained your brain the textbook way, and so transitioning is so damn hard. So using the example from the song, I went to class the next time saying things like เรียนรู้ยังไงก็ไม่เข้าใจเลยค่ะ Compared to the wordy way I used to sound, my tutor was pretty impressed. Step number 3. Instead of English, try looking up the meanings of foreign words in Thai. Also write down the meaning of words in Thai instead of English. At the B level, this is something you should be incorporating. It is more beneficial to rely on Thai at this level than English. I will use this phrase Tao said to illustrate my point here. Rao utsa dai thi non free. When he said this phrase, I knew what he was trying to say from the conversation that was going on between he and Off-Road, but I had never heard the word utsa before. I knew he meant he was trying to or putting effort into, but I learned that I would have said Rao peyam thi non free instead. Therefore, when I wrote the phrase down, I wrote below the word utsa peyam instead of try or put effort into. And that is how I learned the word utsa and a context in which I could use it. I also made sure to incorporate it in my speech during the next class I had, and my tutor actually told me it was a very commonly used word by Thai people. Please note that there is a slight nuance between the two words though, as it may not be used interchangeably in all contexts. And it was really nice learning how I could use the two words. Another example is the word sawang. I used this in a different video, so you perhaps know what it means by now, but I had this phrase, Manja John Mong Arai Mei Hen Leya. In truth, very rarely do I hear sawang used in the context that I created in the other video. But ever since I heard Yin say it like this in his sentence, I heard the word ja used in place of sawang in that context very often. I didn't look up what it meant, but I just took it as was and used ja instead of sawang in similar contexts to express the meaning of bright or very bright. A channel recommendation I have for you guys is Learn Thai with Shelby. I believe all of her intermediate level videos are filmed entirely in Thai, and this is literally one of the best ways a language learner can track their comprehension level. By watching a native teacher teach a lesson in the target language. I do this for Spanish too, and it is great if you have short attention span and can't sit through an entire video in a target language. And this tip takes us into the next. Step number 4. Do not force yourself to sit through an entire video. If your comprehension level is not really there yet, but you want to practice your listening skill, please don't force yourself to sit through an entire video when you're already losing focus. When I was starting, I thought I had to because the advice I had was to pick a video and watch it many times till I got bored of it. What? Okay, for me that was terrible advice. Why? Because 1, I can barely understand what I'm listening to. And 2, what difference would listening to something I do not understand several times do for me? The truth is that it does nothing. At least for me, it doesn't. It is good advice, don't get me wrong, but it is incomplete advice in my opinion. So this method says, listen to the language in the background while doing something. Since this is a language you don't really know fully, you are going to completely zone out. Therefore, passive listening is a waste of your precious time and you won't gain much from doing that. Instead, if you have a video you really want to use to practice listening, don't just listen to the video. Pair it with transcribing. I did this when I began working on my comprehension skills. It takes a lot of time, but it is completely worth it. I took 5-minute videos and it will take me about 2 to 3 1-hour study sessions to finish through the entire video. It was tough, it was tiring, but I gained so much from it. The benefits were that once I completed the transcription, I could now read the script to practice and train my brain on the words and sentence structure or pattern. And then when I went back to listen to the video again, this is where the real absorption happened. And I was actually able to pay attention to the task of listening better. Another way for you, if you just don't have the time to dedicate, ties back into what I said earlier. Do not sit through something you've started losing focus with. Instead, once you realize you start to zone out 1 minute into the video, click on the next video available. It will wake your attention up again because it piqued your interest and it is something new, and so you'll be able to focus again. Another tip is to watch things you find interesting. This is important. There are times you may have to watch things you don't really find interesting because you need to learn a certain class of vocabulary, and in that case, please push yourself to sit through it. Otherwise, pick things you like and you'll be more likely to sit through it. Another tip is to adjust the content to your level. Do not pick too difficult content in hopes that it will help you improve quickly. In my case, it didn't help me at all. All I ended up with was knowing difficult vocabulary and not knowing how to use them in my speech, or not even needing them at all when I spoke. It is a step-by-step process, so don't jump steps in hopes of getting to the destination quicker. you might get there and have to trail back, and that sucks. You would have wasted valuable time and energy, and that is not worth it. Trust me, I did this, so I know. A rule of thumb for me is to find something that I can understand at least 75% or enough to understand words I don't know from the context of the video or topic. You can actually figure this out 1 minute into the video. You select a video, and then after 1 minute, if you realize you haven't understood anything up until that point, then it means it's way beyond your level. Or if it's too easy to you can tell during that first minute, but if it's like you can understand part of it, then you keep going. If you can understand, like you don't know all the words, but you can understand enough, and then you can like make the rest out through context, that is also good enough. One other important tip, if you don't have time to or don't want to transcribe, is to pick videos with Thai subtitles. From the start of my comprehension journey, I used MK Mabi and Chomker's video. Pima Kua includes both English and Thai subtitles, and I really enjoy her content. P. Chris only puts Thai subtitles, and the speech is very fast, but it was worth it for me using his videos for transcription. I believe I only transcribed videos from these two channels until I improved my level enough to not need this exercise any longer. Here are a few channels that I love that have Thai subtitles. Some have just Thai and others have both English and Thai subtitles. Check them out if you like, and they helped me a lot when I was improving my comprehension skills, so maybe they can help you out as well if this is what your focus is now. Now, I am going to give you some very valuable tips, and this once again will benefit you if you can understand about 60% of spoken Thai, because we are going to focus on how Thai people actually speak here on. Now, these are ways I figured after my tutor's feedback, and I asked myself the question, how can I sound more Thai and not like a Thai textbook? And this is how I am doing it. Tip number 1, focus on the details. Don't just listen. Before this, I only really just listened to comprehend, not speak. Yes, there is a difference. How so? I'll answer that. I could quite never understand how I wrote so well, expressed myself through writing so damn well, but whenever I had to speak, it all went out the door and I was left struggling to articulate myself. All the levels need to be trained differently. I'm talking speaking, listening comprehension, writing, etc. When you practice comprehension, you begin to understand people when they speak. When you practice writing, you get better at it, and so on. When I was focusing on comprehending spoken Thai, I had thought that I would end up speaking as well too. I wasn't listening to speak, but comprehend. Now, I could understand spoken Thai, but couldn't speak. When you just listen, you get better at listening. When you focus on the details, you pick up on patterns and cues, and this is how you master the particles too. But we will get to that in a second. Tip number 2, how do you focus on the details? Focus on how they are speaking and not just what you are hearing. Confused? Okay, let me break it down. Let's backtrack a little bit. Let's say you heard this and you understood what it meant and just moved on. That's all that was. You might try to recall it later and not remember exactly what was said, except you understood it, so you might express what you heard like this. Once again, it is not wrong, and I will say this because I am not Thai, so I don't know. But the detail here is Thai Rang and what it means in the context you intended to use it in. Ka doesn't convey the same meaning in this context, although in translation they might both say, was it worth it? I hope you are getting somewhere with this. When you start listening to sound like Thai, these are some of the nuances and details you need to keep your focus on. Thai Rang and Ka both convey the meaning worth, but depending on the context, they are not the same. They don't carry the same meaning. Tip number 3, anything sounds interesting, learn it all. Most of the example phrases I give in my videos all come from things I had being said, and I go on to say the exact same things and switch out words where necessary. You want to sound Thai? Copy how Thai is spoken by natives, like verbatim. I'm really serious here. Write the entire sentence or paragraph and memorize it. I do this a lot when I watch interviews. I always pay particular attention to the responses, and when something sounds like something I say or would say in English, I write the entire version down. Replay it again and again until the sound gets stuck in my brain, so that whenever I want to recall the information, I can hear the speaker in my head saying it back to me. I think I have a part of my brain that is just the voices of Thai people, and they come online whenever I need to speak Thai. Tip number 4, use your voice. Don't be shy. No, don't be shy. Say it back. When I hear a phrase I find useful and I am replaying, I say it along and try so hard to match the tone and the pace. You should have seen me trying to follow along to Yen when he was doing this. I'm too shy to do it here, so here goes.
10 20 30 40 ผมชอบขึ้นบ้านผมชอบขึ้นรถผมไม่ชอบขึ้นลิฟต์10 20 30 40 10 20 30 40ผมชอบตกบ้านผมชอบตกรถผมไม่ชอบตกลิฟต์
When there's a phrase, after I write it down, I say it out loud a few times and then I listen to it being said again by rewinding and then saying it along until I feel that it was accurate enough in tone and pace. Tip number 5. Incorporate the Thai particles and filler words. This is from the tip my tutor gave me. This really helps you sound more Thai, and it is something I am working on too. One way I do this ties back into the first tip. This is a very important detail of Thai speech. I once learned that because Thai is a tonal language, the particles help to bring life to their speech so they don't sound too hard or harsh, or in my case, robotic, which is rather beautiful. When you listen to spoken Thai, I think the best part is hearing them make their sounds and noises that make no sense in English, like the "โอ้โหเพื่อนจริงรีบทำนะเว้ยมึงโอเคปะเนี่ยไม่ใช่มั้งไม่เป็นไรนะจ๊ะ
I love you นะ I miss you มากๆเลยนะเบฟ Do you want Thai tea ไหม You like ผัดไทยไม่ใช่หรอ I told you แล้วไง Do you wanna go to 7 with me ไหม
This last tip is a bonus, but a very, very important tip. And that is to buy the book 100 Thai Words That Make You Sound Thai for Intermediate Learners by Steven Saad. It speaks for itself, so I won't say much. You will thank me later. The best Thai textbook purchase I ever made. In fact, if there is one book you want to buy to study Thai, this is the book I would recommend. I recommended it so many times back in 2020, and I will continue to recommend this book. Unfortunately, I haven't mentioned it much on this channel, but here you go. Get this book. Trust me, get it. It will solve all your Thai problems. I believe it will. And that brings us to the end of this video. Guys, if I tell that doing stuff like this bring me so much joy, you guys just can't imagine. I have so much fun sharing the knowledge I gain on my journey learning Thai, especially. And it is such a great opportunity to be able to provide this to you. It makes me so happy, and I really hope it helps you guys out, even if you gain only my support or words of encouragement. I want to see us all succeed in learning to speak Thai, and I want to be a great example and source of motivation and inspiration. I don't want you guys to give up when the going gets tough. Thai is a beautiful language, and I have been in love with it since the very first day when I burst out laughing because it sounded so weird to me. Yet look at me now, writing it and speaking it. It is quite amazing. And we are about 1600 on this space. Like, how did that happen? I choose to focus on the value I can provide and not the numbers, but let me just say how happy I am that I am meeting more language learners through this space. I know most of you come for the content, and that is good enough for me. I have gained so much confidence in my ability to share my passion thanks to you guys, and no words can express my gratitude. Let me know all the questions you have and whatever videos you would like my input or tips on, and I will gladly work on them to the best of my ability and knowledge. Thank you so much for being here. You guys' presence motivate me to keep going too. Until the next video, you lovely souls, it's Sawadee Ka for now. Ciao, study buddies, with love.